This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
How are you doing, sir? You feeling good?
I'm doing well. Just a little bit of a late-breaking news update for you. The Heat have downgraded Caleb Martin from questionable to out for tonight's game against the Kings. Big O, as you know, he's been battling the Achilles. Then he had the hyperextended knee. Now he has this calf injury sustained, I assume, on Saturday against the Nets. And, you know, you talk about getting teams right, getting your rotation thinned out, knowing who's going to be in, who's going to be out. And here we are again. I would assume this might be another last chance for Markieff Morris tonight against the Kings. But again, a little more rotation uncertainty for the Miami Heat.
I know you've addressed this on your articles or Ask Ira, I think. Did the Heat screw up? I mean, we're all guilty too because we wanted to see Oladipo. When's he coming back? When's he coming back? Markieff Morris, when's he coming back? When's he coming back? Meanwhile, everybody was playing well. The young guys were playing well. There was synergy, all of that. All of a sudden, there's dysfunction. There isn't any synergy right now. There's no chemistry right now. They're not making plays. What do we attribute this to? Are old guys getting old? Are the young guys not playing enough? Did Spo try to do what we all thought he should have done, which was, you know, play Oladipo and get Markieff Morris, and maybe we're all wrong. Maybe it was never broken and you shouldn't have fixed it. What does hindsight tell us now?
Well, I'm glad you used that word because you're playing the sort of the results. Oh, and that's not fair. And so we have to go back to this whole Victor Oladipo comes back from his May quadricep surgery 3 weeks ago. Shortly thereafter, Markieff Morris comes back, 58 games off following whiplash. You have to ask yourself this, Big O. At that time, did you believe the Miami Heat were the best team in the NBA and the favorites to win a championship?
Yes.
They might have been, but they probably weren't. They were close in the East competitive. The Suns were better. So you have to take a chance at greatness. You have to explore. You don't want to leave, like you would say, anything on the table. So I have no issues with what they did. I know the losses are tough, but you know what? They're still right there at the top of the Eastern Conference. They still control their destiny for the number one seed if you want the number one seed. But now is when you might say, okay, we took a look. We tried. We have 7 games left. We have an upcoming road trip starting Wednesday in Boston. We'll be doing our Slomin home security inside the paint show before they play Boston on Wednesday. Then they go to Chicago for a Saturday game. We'll talk about that more on Friday's Acura of Pembroke Pines Heat Report. Then they go to Toronto Sunday. So maybe this is when Eric Spoelstra said, okay, I tried X, Y, and Z. I took a look at everything. Now we got to sit down together, Tuesday's practice or Tuesday's day off. Let's come up with these are our guys' rotation. And let's play it through this meat grinder of the Celtics, of the Bulls, of the Raptors. And then we'll come out on the other side. We'll know if this works. We'll know if our guys are tired. We know if they need to rest them the final week of the season against Charlotte, Atlanta, and Orlando. And maybe you get a read. So, you know, the term we always use, Big O, is dress rehearsal. After the preseason, when's the last exhibition going to be the dress rehearsal? I would like to see an encouraging dress rehearsal. And if they go to their prime guys, and it's pretty much spaced out except for the back-to-back with Chicago and Toronto, and they get through that, I don't give a rat's butt where they finish seating-wise. I'll know, okay, they came out on the other side with a decent result. Let's all exhale. Let's sit 36-year-old Kyle Lowry, 36-year-old PJ Tucker, 33-year-old Jimmy Butler. We'll be fine come the playoffs. What they did was not wrong. It just didn't pan out. They still have ample time in these last 2 weeks to rectify everything, preferably starting tonight against the Sacramento Kings at FTX Arena.
Yeah, no, that's why I said hindsight, because I'm guilty. We're all guilty. Nobody was saying, oh, no, we don't want Markieff Morris and Oladipo back. And all. We were all guilty. We all were dying to get them back because we get greedy and we're deeper and better and all that kind of stuff. So then the follow-up question is now, veteran players might be better at turning on and turning off, and they might be able to, you know, accomplish it. Doesn't mean that every time you want to turn it on, it's going to turn on.
Yes.
But how are young players now going to handle this, that they were the man and now you're not the man anymore? But no, now we want you to be the man again. And that's the part that you kind of fear is, will you find that magic that you had, that you carried throughout most of this season?
What matters most to young players, and really kids, really pretty much, teenagers, everything, is continuity and stability. If you can still provide continuity and stability for Gabe Vincent, for Max Strus, for your younger players, they'll be fine come the playoffs. But if it's going to be choppy, and then you go to me, Ira, Max Strus was 0 for 10 on threes in 2 consecutive games. What the hell is going on? But what the hell is going on is Markieff Morris and Victor Oladipo and no continuity. Max Strus was in a groove. You took him away from his groove. Gabe Vincent was in a groove. His toe injury took him away from a groove. You can get them back there. Again, the NBA playoffs do not start until April 16th. There is time. But at a certain point, you have to have your continuity. So, Big O, what you've got to say, and we weren't sure of this, will Gabe Vincent be in your playoff rotation? You got to make that decision now. Will Max Strus be in your playoff rotation? You got to make that decision now. You've got to still provide the runway that is still available. That's a tough call, but you have to make decisions.
Well, the way, to our follow-up question to that, the way Duncan Robinson's played and the lack of consistency that he's had all year long, you goddamn right those guys better play. It better be Max Strus, because right now I want Max Strus over Duncan Robinson.
You know what? You've been the campaign manager for that thought now for about 3 months, and I keep trying to push back. But what I can't keep pushing back from, and I told you this, overall the numbers aren't that bad. He's still among the top 10 in NBA in three-pointers made. Teams still put him on the scouting report. But, the more I see these scoreless games, I don't care who the hell you are in the NBA. If you're an NBA starter, you can't have a big 0 after your name at the end of the game. You can't tell me after the game, he's occupying the defense and he's opening the lane for other people. I hate to say it, but when you're a 0, that changes the outlook and the perspective on you. And you know what? The scoreless games used to be the outlier. And I could say, Big O, he's scoreless, but look at the 6 games before that. I can't tell you that anymore. No. And it's real. And it's not like, here's the thing with all players in the NBA, I say, but does he do something else great? So PJ Tucker doesn't score, but he's a great defender. At least he occupies Kevin Durant. You need him against Giannis, so he stays in the starting lineup. He's had scoreless games also. I don't know what Duncan Robinson's second special skill is.
There
and
is.
He'd have cast him as he's more than James Jones. He's more than Jason Capono. He does other things. I haven't seen the other things recently. What I have seen is other teams targeting him defensively and targeting Tyler and targeting Max Strus. And you know what? You can't have more than 1 or 2 targeted players in your rotation, or else it gets awfully easy to create the mismatch when the other team also has Giannis and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, or the other team has Durant and Kyrie Irving and Goran Dragic and just other scorers in there. So, yeah, I think Eric Spoelstra is going to have to pick his defensive poison. And at most, I think he can go with 2 non-defenders. When you get to 3, you don't have defense.
No, I'm with you there. Now, is there any part of this decision that has been delayed because they're afraid that will then hurt trade value in the offseason? If you're trying to move him, you want to keep justifying him as a starter overall, and you can still play with the stats a little bit, like you're saying, that he's still, top 10 in 3-point percentage.
It's what I've said. Before, I think you might have thought that way. But I think at critical mass now, you've got to win a goddamn playoff series. You got to win playoff games. I think at a certain point, the front office decisions veer in this lane for later, and you're looking straight forward as you've got to win right now. I also think Duncan Robinson's contract now is at a point where it's going to have to come with a sweetener if you do trade him, with a first-round pick. Dare I say it, with a Tyler Hero. I wrote about this in my Sunday column.
No, Tyler. No.
Okay, like I said, maybe you don't want Bradley Beal, but maybe you would have said, hey, in these games, Bradley Beal, who is more of a shot maker proven than Tyler Hero at this point, maybe Donovan Mitchell, if the Jazz go to the 5th seed in the West and they don't get out of the playoffs and he's unhappy there, maybe Duncan and Tyler Hero give a team that's not going to get a replacement free agent someone. So you might consider that. There was a point Duncan Robinson had trade value as Duncan Robinson. Right now, Duncan Robinson has trade value with a sweetener. But as I wrote in the Sun Sentinel, it's still the type of contract that you add something to it, it's a good number. The Heat have been really smart with those. They signed Myers Leonard for $9.4 million. Orlando Alzugaray said, what the hell are they doing? They got Trevor Ariza. They brought Goran Dragic back for $19.4 million. Orlando Alzugaray said, what the hell are they doing? They turned him into Kyle Lowry. I think the Duncan Robinson contract was always one where the Heat said, now in our back pocket, we will have a salary figure in the sweet spot. And I still think that could be worked out in the offseason.
All right, so let me ask you something with Jimmy Butler. What is going on with that situation there? What have we heard behind the scenes? Was there any talk, any apologies? What's the deal?
I think Jimmy has lost his focus a little bit, and I think the entire team has for this reason. This team loves to play with a chip on its shoulder. So, what was the chip on his shoulder? All the injuries, the guys you mentioned earlier. We pushed through. Eric Spoelstra, we have enough. What was the chip on the shoulder? This crazy road schedule. We're never home. We're packing and unpacking. Then they got 11 of 12 ending tonight against Sacramento, so they couldn't use the road us against the world card. Then, as you and I, Clay Ferrara on Wednesday, spoke about, that we get no respect. The chip on our shoulder there. Then they started getting respect, and they were in first place by 3 games. Everyone was talking, even the haters, about the Heat. I think, if nothing else, this horrendous stretch of the last 4 games should put Chip firmly back on shoulder because, I've been scrolling through the World Wide Web, and everyone says the Heat suck again. And maybe that's what they need. Maybe they needed NBA Nation to turn to the Heat and go, you guys suck. Maybe that's what this team needs. I think Jimmy Butler needed a kick in his ass, which is why Eric Spoelstra kept going hard at him. I didn't love the fact that Jimmy Butler spent a warm Saturday rooting on his friends at the Miami Open and then coming to a Heat game and only scoring 7 points all in the first quarter. Got to be more focused. I don't know if Udonis Haslem has to say anything. I don't know if Eric Spoelstra has to say anything. But we never thought the Heat would have to have their focus this time of year, the dog days of the season, but they need it back now. Hopefully this all has been an eye-opener. The Kings are shorthanded today. No Domantas Sabonis, no De'Aaron Fox. And again, for the upteenth time, no excuse.
Yeah, but we've had those games already where no Harden, no Embiid, no problem. No Kyrie, no Durant, no problem, or whatever. What was the other? It wasn't that game. It was the other game that they didn't have.
It was 3 games in a row. It was no Embiid and Harden lost at Philadelphia. There was no Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson lost at home to the Warriors. There was no Julius Randle to the Knicks on Friday, lost at home to the Knicks, and the Nets are just a better team. But and eventually you have to sort of make your stand and say enough is enough. Honestly, Big O, tonight, beaten down, shorthanded team that's out of the playoffs. If not now, there might be a special 3-hour edition on the Big O show on Tuesday, and I'll call for my flight to Boston because you know what? That would be rock bottom.
I mean, I don't even know if you're going to know, but if anybody's going to know, you're going to know. Any chance Riley and Jimmy had a conversation here?
I was specifically told that on Saturday, on the come to whatever moment you want to call it, rather on Thursday after the Warriors game, there was not that meeting. I was told initially by someone in the organization, expect Mickey and Pat to address the team today. And I was told over and over by the team, no. It was typical. It's Eric Spoelstra's team. He operates it. He runs it. I was told no. Now, that doesn't mean there wasn't a text. There wasn't a phone call. There wasn't something after the fact, kept private one-on-one. But I think Pat Riley knows that you've also got to keep hands off, that this is Eric Spoelstra's team. Everything I've heard, he will be back. Thankfully, he's past his family concern, and Eric Spoelstra will be back tonight to coach. And from the look on your face, and yes, he'll be back to coach next season as well.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I'm like, I mean, give me a break. That guy's freaking awesome. He's just absolutely amazing. By the way, the real subject of the day. So what'd you think of the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock thing? You know, for those, and you probably know about the alopecia she has. And I think that's what it was, that she was really disappointed when he made a joke and she's got a disease. And I think that's what it drove what's it called, Will, to do what he did. So I'm just wondering, what's the great Ira Winderman think of that dust up?
I think there was a lot of crossing the lines, but even what Will did sort of took the luster out of people who might have had one night their entire life waiting for that. And when it was over, that's all people were talking about was that moment for people who won awards who will never have a moment like that again. So I think that's unfortunate. The video that just came out of Chris Rock at his post game sitting there saying that he wants to go with Will Smith, I really wonder about the veracity of that. And if that just wasn't a publicity attempt, with the fact of if he's all around his handlers and he's so angry, who was the person shooting the video showing him that angry? So it's like it always goes into something else to try to make something out of a moment. I think it was unfortunate because of the joke, but you know what? You want edgy. You know, Big O, you go to comedy concerts. You want edgy. Think of the stuff Sam Kinison did back in the day. Oh my God. He made AIDS jokes. That's what he did. Times have changed. You have to adjust to them. But if you want your comics to be cutting edge and to be racy, they do cross the line. Yeah, I've never been at a comedy concert.
Don Rickles crossed every line possible.
Yes. But I've never been at a comedy concert where he didn't at one point just retract and go, oh, that didn't hit the mark. It's just a shame that on the one moment of time, that best choreography in an animated, picture, that one person is up there and it all gets overlooked. To me, that was the shame. But I was watching sports. I didn't care.
Although, hey, won an Oscar when? Oh, the year that Will Smith slapped that's when I won it.
That's when I won. But that's your claim to fame, exactly.
It'll be a reference point from when it's kind of like a fat guy like me trying to find somewhere where you're driving directions. Well, you hang a left on Taco Bell and then you hang a right on Kentucky, and it's right next to Wendy's. That's kind of what we do with landmarks. There you go. Chris Rock and Will Smith will be a landmark moment on the year of the Oscars. That's all.
And then all forgetting, and they're both great talents, and we move on.
That's true. Follow them on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. And more importantly, please subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel and support Ira and all the great writers there. Ira, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Celtics pregame show, Wednesday, 9 a.m. Slomin's home security report with Clay Ferrara. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Big O.
You got it. There you go. The great Ira Winderman. Our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.